And a good 4 days and counting morning to you, Birds fans. You got John McMullen and Jody McDonald, a.k.a. Mac and Mac, what you hear on Birds 365. You can almost feel it. And not there yet, but we're getting damn close. John McMullen got a chance to virtually chat with the Eagles coach yesterday, Nick Sirianni. And as expected, Johnny Mac, he wasn't very forthcoming, was he?
He never is. I mean, when you talk about personnel, he's just not going to say anything. So, I mean, I think Rube went after safety first. Then I just made a joke about the punters because he's not going to say. Um, it is what it is, but competitive advantage, and he believes there's an advantage, especially early in the season when people don't know what you're going to do, and But he said the Patriots have it as well with Bill O'Brien coming back, although he has a history from the past as well. So you can go by. These guys are ridiculous. Every single one of them, not just Nick. Every single one of them.
He's not the only one in the NFL who subscribes to this theory.
They're as the game has gotten more simpler, it's gotten simpler because it's had to, because of we always talk about the lack of practice time. So rightfully you boil things down, and it's funny. They seem to have gotten more secretive as it's gotten simpler, and it doesn't make any sense. But it is what it is at this point.
One thing Sirianni wasn't afraid to talk about yesterday was his effusive praise and respect for Bill Belichick. It's the first time that he's ever coached against Belichick. The Eagles as an organization certainly matched up against the Patriots plenty in some big games, as in 2 Super Bowls. So there's certainly a familiarity between Eagle Nation and that Belichick guy. But Nick seemed pretty taken back by going up against a coaching legend, a guy who some people think is the greatest coach of all time in the National Football League. Too much respect or just the right amount in your eyes?
I don't think it's too much. I don't think as a coach, I mean, yeah, as coaches, obviously in that profession, I mean, they have tremendous respect for Bill Belichick, and they should. I mean, he in my mind, you said maybe the greatest coach of all time. In my mind, he is the greatest coach of all time. And I know people will say Tom Brady, and since Tom Brady has left, and I would say to those people, you don't understand coaching. If you want to criticize Bill Belichick, criticize him for the GM part of the job, because as Nick Sirianni will tell you, show me a good coach, I'll show you good players. Coaching's about a sliding scale, and the only way you could accurately grade everybody is to give them the exact same talent every year and see who would come out on top. And I guarantee it would be Bill Belichick. That's why he's the greatest coach of all time, because he's going to get out. He's going to get out of what he has a little bit more than anybody else, and that's what good coaching is. But it's always a sliding scale. And yeah, you can say he hasn't been up to the snuff personnel wise in the post Brady era. That's a valid criticism. But people who criticize his coaching, they don't understand coaching. I mean, you kind of saw it. You saw the reverence, and there should be. I mean, it's unbelievable from a coaching perspective.
No, he has been that good, and it all comes down to definition. The only guy I would put him in the conversation with is Vince Lombardi, and again, that's before my time. Trying to compare the NFL in this millennium,
it's tough. And the only reason I say it's the greatest is because in those, and you can go back in my wheelhouse is more of the Chuck Knowles and the Tom Landry's, and that's when I first started following football. And the reason, whatever coach you like from that era, the reason I put Belichick ahead of him is because of the way free agency has changed the game. There's this constant turnover, whereas those guys got these great teams together for a decade, and they knew they were going to have those players. And that's, to me, that's a little bit easier than having to do it and tweak it and do things year after year after year in the era of free agency. So that's why I put him a little bit above
Right.
the,
Like
the
I said,
greatest coaches.
it's almost apples and oranges to try and compare a free agent era and a non-free agent era coach, because they're two different jobs is basically what it comes down to. And Belichick has been great, but Lombardi was phenomenal in his day as well. Speaking of coaching, will the Eagles actually, in your opinion, cash the dividend for the Matt Patricia hire this week? If we're going to give Belichick all this love and respect for everything he does, you don't think that he'd be dumb enough to just do things that he knows Matt Patricia knows about him and tendencies that he has and the like? It makes a lot of sense that you believe hiring a guy who is as close right hand man to Bill Belichick as he was should be an advantage. Don't you think Belichick knows that? If John McMahon and Jody McDonald know it,
Yeah.
the Eagles know it. I'm thinking the best coach of all time also knows it. So how
Yeah.
a dividend is it actually going to pay?
Well, I think those things are overrated. A lot of people bring it up with players too. If a player came over and, because as you mentioned, they're aware of it too. It's not like they don't know. So, the tendencies and Nick talked about that a lot as well. They'll break it on purpose to try to take advantage of. Hey, Matt Patricia might say, we're going to do this in this instance. And all of a sudden you switch it up. So, yeah, I mean, it's about execution. And the Eagles have the better team, the more talent, and that's kind of how they feel. And they're kind of haughty about it, and they should be, because their process. We talk about with gimmick plays with Shane Steichen. It's not like I think you'll see Shane Steichen throw out some gimmick plays in Indy because he has to. Here he was like, I don't need to do that. And he's right. Eagles have a good team. Eagles have the better team. And I don't think Matt Patricia changes that dynamic all that much, good or bad.
If you're an Eagle fan, which we're thinking that 99% of the people watching this right now would fall into that category, you're believing that. You think that Matt Patricia is going to pay some kind of dividend. I hope he does. I hope there's something after the game that Nick will do this every once in a while. We're both kind of giving him a hard time because he plays his cards so close to the vest before the game. After the game, every once in a while he'll be forthcoming, tell you something that it rings true to you and you believe that when he says it, he means it. I think he'll tell you after the game if there's something that Matt Patricia added to the preparation for this game that actually played itself out on the field. We'll see if it plays that way on Sunday. But your point about the Eagles being the better team, I certainly think so. Their roster is better. I don't know that the Patriots have gotten significantly better during this offseason. And they were an 8-9 football team last year. Even if Belichick is the greatest coach of all time, he was coaching an 8-9 roster. Do you see an improved roster for the Patriots this year, Johnny Mac?
No, not necessarily. However, I will say that it's another year with Mac Jones. It was interesting because he got some criticism, as you saw back with Andy Reid back in the day with Juan Castillo doing some weird things on the coaching staff. And now he's gotten back to a more traditional offensive mind and Bill O'Brien. Maybe that helps. I think the improvement probably is going to come within. The problem for the Patriots, in my mind, is the division. Their division is really good on paper. Specifically for me, I think a motivated Aaron Rodgers is the most dangerous thing in the world, and Buffalo's really, really good. I'm not as high on Miami as some other people, but they're a good team. I'm not going to say they're bad. They're a good team. And they're number 4, I think, from a talent perspective. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And Look, I think he's going to try to do things a unique way offensively and maybe try to take advantage of what this league is doing as a whole. I always say I love those guys, Jody. Don't give me the copycats. Give me the guys who are out in front. Um, and I always go back to Billy Bean in baseball. You know, when he was doing it, when he was Moneyball, he was the only one doing it. So he had the advantage. Then everybody does it. It becomes who does it best. Doesn't, you know, and then you need the next guy who's counting cards, so to speak. And maybe he's that guy. I doubt it. I think the margin of error is too small to play that way in this league because look, I could see them coming in with a great game plan because they always have a great game plan. And I could see things because of the energy of season opener, Tom Brady day, things going well for the first 7, 8 minutes, getting some first downs, chewing up some clock, shortening the game. And maybe they even lead 10-7 at some point. You say, "Ooh, what's going on here?" And then bang, bang, it's going to be big plays. And then that margin of error is small when you try to play that way. Um, and it could be one blown coverage, as we always talk about with the big Fangio defenses. Um, Bill's a little bit different from that, but you see it all the time. It's one mistake and bang, you got a big play because you have AJ Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert and Jalen Hurts and on and on and on and on.
I think Bill already tried to play that card last year when he had co-offensive coordinators, a defensive coordinator by trade, and a special teams guy and a former head
Yeah,
coach.
he's always trying. That's
Right. And that didn't quite work out too well for him. So I don't know that we have to be in fear of, Belichick's going to have, and I think this is so tremendously overstated. Belichick will have a trick up his sleeve. Where were all the tricks last year when they went 8-9? Guess what? They had an 8-9 roster. They went 8-9 because of it. So
that's where we'll slightly disagree. If he finishes, and that's kind of what I bring back to my original point about coaching. Probably didn't have an 8-win roster. Probably had a 6-win roster, and he got it to 8 wins. That's where I think the coach comes in. But if you don't have the talent, you can't win. You can't win at a high level. He's always going to win a little bit more than he should. But you can't win at a high level unless you have talent. Talent is more important than coaching. Even in the NFL, where I think of the major sports, coaching means more in the NFL than any other major sport, but it's still about the players first. It's still way about the players first than the coaches.
No, they went 10-7 the year before, so they went backwards. They lost 2 more games than they did the year before that. I don't remember. That Brady guy had already gone by then. Any significant decreases in the right guys up and leaving free agent. I don't want to be here if Tom's not here. I won't say Belichick coached a 5-win talent team to 8 victories last year. I don't know that that's the case. They still had some talent on that team. I just don't think he did a great job because maybe he overpushed the envelope with the I need to think outside the box thing and the way he handled his offensive coordinator.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't prove it. It's just always, to me, good coaches are going to get a little bit more out of what they have than other coaches. That kind of me, but that's a sliding scale. That's what makes it difficult. A lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot, but many people are saying, well, Belichick's not that great because look what's gone on since Tom Brady. And I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, but guess what? Insert name isn't going to get 6 Super Bowls with Tom Brady.
Probably not.
Can I prove it? No, right. But that's my thought process.
And Brady will not be returning to the Patriots to play. He's going to be there Sunday. They're going to retire his jersey or whatever other ceremony. They're going to have however they're going to laud him and praise him. And I do think that could help to level the playing field in this game. I tried to find it again last night. I still believe it's the most expensive ticket on the secondary market this week or for the entire season. Patriot fans just aren't giving up their tickets. They want to be there for Tom Brady Day. Those that are asking an outrageous sum. I said this on WIP last night. The Eagle fan base, Eagle Nation, is as good as there is in the National Football League at traveling. We've seen examples over the last however many years since they won the Super Bowl 2017, going in and taking over other team stadiums, either getting more than 50% of the fannies in the seats, or if they didn't get it, sounding like they got more than 50% of the fannies in the seats. That's not happening on Sunday, John.
Yeah.
There's not going to be a massive Eagle contingent of fans, even after having a team that went to the Super Bowl the year before.
No, I agree. Same thing happened. I was shocked. I remember talking about it. I was shocked at how few Eagles fans there were in Detroit last year for the season opener. And it was the same thing to even a lesser degree, because I assumed, well, it's the Lions, they'll give up their tickets and there'll be a ton of Eagles fans there. But no, they were hyped up for week one. And there were very few that could get in the building, and it was loud. Now that's indoor, obviously. Foxborough, yeah, I don't think you're going to see a lot of Eagles fans, even though that's a shorter trip. Even though there would be, you see Washington in years past, that's going to be more difficult, by the way. They sold out for the first time in forever. The Eagles would typically take over at FedEx Field, the Eagles fans. Arizona, I remember last year, was unbelievable. Arizona, it was like Philadelphia West for the regular season game. Yeah, I mean, when they have an opportunity, they're going to take over the stadium. There's not going to be an opportunity.
No, and I think the Patriots fans that will be holding on to their tickets will be as leather lunged as they can. Now, will it last the entire game? If the Eagles get up by 2 touchdowns, do you feel the buzz in the stadium start to die off? Yeah, I think that could be the case. But I think at the beginning of the game, it's going to be a raucous crowd backing the Patriots. So that when I was looking at the schedule last night on the air on WIP, I said the NFL did the Eagles a favor by making their first 5 games winnable. They're going to be a favorite in every single one of them before they've got that tough midseason gauntlet they've got to get through. This was the one quasi exception to the rule, because I'm glad they're playing the Patriots on the road, because I think they're a beatable team, and you want your road games to be less of a tough test if you can. So getting the Patriots on the road is fine. Even the first game of the season would have been fine for me if it hadn't been Tom Brady Day. I think that adds an element to it, and I think we'll give the crowd a little bit of an oomph to go against the Birds. So we'll see come Sunday. All right. He's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. That would make us Mac and Mac here on Birds 365. Are you sure Mike Gill's back from vacation?
I am. I checked. It was stunning. Well, I had to go on his show yesterday.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
All right. So you said talk to you in the morning on Birds 365?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I booked him on air. I'm doing work on air.
Very good. Hey, get it done any way you can. Mike Gill's been out the last couple of weeks. We're not saying he doesn't deserve a vacation. It's not like we pay him a ton to come here on the show. So we can't really complain about it, but we do always enjoy having Mike Gill on, specifically since West Virginia got beat up by Penn State. I definitely want to have Mike Gill on the show.
What was the final of that game, by the way? Do you remember?
Oh, you know the backstory to the game, right?
I do not.
Okay. And we'll do this before Gil gets on here, but he might already be listening. Penn State scored with 5 seconds left to go to get, and they're already up by,
we were talking about that yesterday.
Yeah, by double-digit points. I took a call on CBS that night about it, and so do the coaches know the point spread? Why would the coach of Penn State score with 5 seconds left to go? And my response was the same as it always has been. In college football, the rules are there are no rules.
Yeah.
Because subjectivity comes into deciding who's got a chance to play for the champion. There are style points. There are beauty points. Margin of victory counts. And the NFL means nothing because you have standings and you have tiebreakers. So how impressively you win a game is irrelevant. It's either a win or a loss or a tie. in college football, that's different. So I had zero problem with James Franklin doing that. Yeah, some West Virginia people might, and Mike Gill might be one of them. We'll find out coming up next. Mike Gill from the Sports Bash down the shore comes back on his Wednesday spot here on Birds 365.